Welcome to Warblog. Today I'm going to play one of the backlog games that I've been trying to hack through. It's this one. I've got a small confession. I did copy the data from this game as a base, and I didn't make too many changes. So if we look at that other game, what we'll sort of see is that the units in general miraculously represent, to some degree, for example, this engineer company conveniently behind this river was actually sort of there. I've removed that unit, but these units could possibly have been there, but these ones are conveniently inside Shusha, but they were actually in the middle of nowhere before, etc, etc. I moved some of these units onto the roads and things, so it was a cheap, just to speed things up a bit. But I'm just going to sort of play. I'm not going to play long. I just trying to get the backlog through. I just don't understand where all the time goes. You know, I sort of sit there thinking, well, you know, I've made how many games? I mean, just over 800 games, and each one of them needed a map. It's quite bizarre, but they're all done sort of like, you know, in that moment of, oh, I need a break, or you know, so it's, but they're all so, you know, when you look back on them and reflect on them, so sort of intricate and involved. It's quite bizarre, but you sort of think, well, where did all that time come from? You know, sort of like my life. And so it's quite bizarre, really, to sort of reflect on, you know, how that time seems to have sort of like, not so much passed in the past, or vanished, so to speak, but I doesn't seem to be able to get that time. But I've got some major things that I'm doing at the moment, so it's sort of eating into it. But you know, so having like an hour is just not on. So, but I could muster 20 minutes, I think, because I'm just sort of in the relaxed position with a cup of coffee, taking a break. But I don't know, I think maybe it's the time of year. I'm looking forward to the time when, you know, all I've got to do is just sit down and relax, and, you know, document every single modern military engagement in the history of time since 1946, or in history since 1946. But it just seems that, I don't know, time becomes a scarcer commodity as time goes forward, or as one gets older. I don't know. Anyway, I'm wittering. I'm just going to sort of have a blast at this, but I think the thing to do, really, again, I don't have time. No time, because what you've got to do first is think, and I'm pretty sure that thinking takes up a little more sort of mental resources, really, and time. But we're going to do some thinking. Let's use the yellow one. I think that'll show up well. So obviously we got a front line there and there, and I've no idea what comes in where, but we've got lots of drones. And so I think what we've got to do in the first instance is hit some drones. And so what path we're going to want to take now? Historically, they somehow went like this, possibly crossing the river here, because there's no bridges. There's a bridge there and there, but there isn't one there. And then they went into Shusha this way. It's tempting to sort of maybe consider this route, but this is the one they took. And so if we were to reflect that, we've got all this terrain to cover, and it's very similar to the other game that this, I think, is sort of based on, which I think is the route from here to there. So it's going to take a long time, and I'm certainly not going to get through it. But if you sort of think, well, okay, well, we're going to do it that way, we've got a lot of drones, which you can see in the thing, and we've got to consider, well, what can we hit first? Well, what are we going to try and get through? Well, if we can only move one turn at a time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It'll take 14 turns at the very least to get there, and we probably will get delayed hideously, and we'll probably need really to go sort of 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, possibly going up faster, 21, 22. It's going to take at least 30 turns to get to even before the battle of Shusha can commence. This way would be a lot faster, but we're presuming that it's a more difficult route, plus there's only one bridge crossing there, but we do have some engineers somewhere. So I think in the first instance, I don't know what to do, but I think the intonation, I don't think they've got any air defences. They must have somewhere. But I think the intonation is to... Let's see where their air defences are. One. 2. 3. 4, 5. So we've got 5 air defences. 2 in Shusha. 1 there. 1 there. So we've got 1 there and 1 there. And 1 down here. So in theory, 2, 3, 4, 5. What we'd like to do, I guess, is to take that out, which would mean attacking that. So we can probably fight through the lower density of drones. So I think it will really come down to, possibly in the first instance, I have no idea. You see, we've got to plan, and how can we plan? What are we thinking? I think essentially what we'll have to do is to just blast through this route. So it could be that we really need to just pummel this and pummel all of this. And the ironic thing is, because these units are almost exactly the same positions they were last time, it's going to be the same battle across the same sort of terrain. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm going to go for 3, 3, 3, 2. 3, 3, 3, 2. That makes sense. One point 6, 1.4, 1.6, 1. So they took an even amount of damage all around. But we've got some artillery. So I think we'll pile that on here. .1 takes him down to 2.7, which is not a lot. Okay, so here it is actually the same battle, almost. We can wait on that, I think. Right, so what are they going to do? Bring us 1 hex closer. And look, there's another air defense unit there. Let's try and bring him down towards this river edge. Let's leave these in Shusha, but bring them a little further. No, we'll leave him there, this engineer. So I'd like to put obstacles in there. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Huh. Let's see if we've got any artillery in range. Yes, I don't know where it is, but we'll fire with it. Okay, that's that. So more units coming on, it would appear. So they've recovered. So I'm going to use the same again. Yeah, 3, 3, 3, 2. I just thought there was a missing unit. It couldn't have been 3, 3, 3. That would have been 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I was just going to say, because they're stationary, we need to get more than 1 a turn, and we only got half a turn that time, so that didn't count. We need to get more than 1 a turn for the damage to be really effective, and no effect, no effect, no effect, no effect is just not really going to cut the mustard. 0.2 needs to be more than 1 to have long-term effect. 0.7. Nope, so that was basically a round of rubbish. Hopefully this will do a bit better, because the anti-tank, they should have moved those, shouldn't they? 0.1. Nope, so this is really crappy results. However, we do have 2 lots of artillery, which we can fire onto here. 3 lots. Oh, 2.7. 2.2, leaving them on 7. Let's just see if we can finish it. Yes. Okay. Well, we've got some artillery. Might as well fire onto this. I've got some anti-tank. Hmm. Okay. So we really need for the Azerbaijanis to be having their drones do something a little more effectively than nothing. We can maybe try and attack that. But I'd like to put some pressure on. They didn't move that again either, did they? But he's on 0 depressions. He's on 0. He's on 0.1. I think we're going to go for 3, 3, 3, 2. Oh, 1. 1.7. Okay. So he's at 0. Let's fire at him. Good, good, good. That's quite useful. 6.73. these reinforcements could probably be better off put on the road. I might have to make a note of that. These guys come in from there. I'll have to make a note of that as well, because really they should be on this road, because they come from the old setup. So 4A and 0W. But I'm going to leave it at that, because I've got to do things, and I want to do that whilst it's fresh in my mind. It's a bit too similar to the other game, so I'm going to make some adjustments. I'm going to give basically the Azerbaijanis 2 more infantry units in these key places, and yeah, but this should be an interesting battle. The key thing here is that these escarpments can't be crossed, so there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 points of entry. The only thing to bear in mind is obviously you've got artillery, you've got drones, but also the other thing to bear in mind, sort of maybe more poignantly in the sort of the historic sense, is that Shusa didn't put up the sort of the historic defence that it did in the previous war. It didn't seem to put up a lot of resistance. I think mainly because the drone strikes were so accurate that there wasn't really anything left to defend it. I think the background to it all was different in such an extent that it wasn't necessarily any less significant, because it represented the central defence point for the whole of the Architects, whatever it's called, region. They could have pulled troops to defend from the east, the west, and the south, but those would have left the east, the west, and the south basically vulnerable. But the east, west, and south all depended to some extent on the defence of Shusha, and so there you have it, really. But I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to try and get these changes done anyway. I might give it another blast later, actually, to see how it feels after I've done that. Because as I said, the setup was, nicked from the other one just because I wanted to speed things up a bit. I have actually considered doing a default template of the 2 sides, but it's easier said than done, because when you they've all got to be located, and when you're populating a map like this, it's easier to build up logically than to take an existing set of units, not knowing what's what, and then to position things. It is actually quite difficult to do it that way. Whereas if you're sort of saying, okay, I'm going to put a string of infantry units across here, and then I'm going to put some artillery along there, and I'm going to put some anti-tank in here, and here, that makes sense. But once you see the picture, it's hard to actually figure out what's what and what's where. So, but I'm just glad to get another game sort of through the pipeline, really. I want to clear that backlog. That'll be a day of worth waiting for. I don't know. I'm looking forward to getting through that backlog. It's just not so much embarrassing, but it's always sort of, I'm very much aware that it looks like there are games that are not complete, which I don't really want to do, because obviously I want to have people sign up, so I don't want people coming along and seeing loads of incomplete games. When they get it, they go, what's this, and go away and not know what's going on. So 1 or 2 games, but when you've got 16 of them, it's sort of like, well, when the Idlib stuff was going on, there were like 30 of them. It was insane. But I got through them eventually, and I'll get through these eventually. So I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.